Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Autogefühl with Thomas with the Skoda Superb. And there are actually 4 good reasons to watch this review in this very trim. First of all, today we have the Sedan, Saloon or Limousine, however you want to call it. Could also call it Fastback because it has a Fastback opening. Last time we presented to you the Estate, this time here a Saloon focus, but we also tell you all about the Estate you need to know. Then, second reason, this one here is the SportLine. Last time we had the Scout crossover version, we put up SportLine here today with the sportier look. Then, the third reason, this is the Superb Facelift. So we're going to talk about the changes, exterior, interior, and with the driving experience. And fourth, and maybe best reason, this one is the new Superb PHEV, the plug-in hybrid version, electrified. Let's see how that one plays out. Well, I think enough reasons to join us in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Here in the front we can see the new front grille alignment with the headlamps. So headlamps have moved closer to the front grille and also a little bit slimmer. So overall a more elegant and sporty design here in the Superb Facelift for all the models. Headlamps also now start from LED and optional they get this matrix LED light. We also have it right here. Then in the lower part the SportLine adds this honeycomb structure grille and a stronger spoiler, so it has a nice sport look. Overall, I think it's the most beautiful Skoda there is, and also if you compare it to other vehicles, I think a very, very beautiful car here already in the front. By the way, the EV opening for the plug-in hybrid, the charging is already right here at the front. Press it right here and open it, and then you can recharge right there. But the thing is that maximum AC charging power is only at 3.6 kilowatt. So that means 3.5 hours charging time from 0 to 100 charge at the wallbox. Even longer, of course, at home. However, with a plug-in hybrid vehicle, you usually say that you plug it in overnight and then it's full when you start in the morning again. So that would be okay. Still, it could be a little bit more powerful, definitely. Also, when you're charging, for example, at a public station and want to check if it's really charging, you can only see it with this very tiny green dot right there you see, and at daytime it's really hard to see. That could have been made more obvious. At least you can see from the inside then with this charging cable symbol that it's charging. You also see the predicted charging time. And by the way, the check engine light always shows when the ignition is on. It will disappear when you really put on the engine. 4 meters 86, 15 foot 9 or 191 inches is the length of the Skoda Superb, and it's available as Sedan, Saloon, or here I would also call it Fastback, or as the Combi that also continues right there. We also have a review to that. It will be linked in the video description or in the pinned comment. And the SportLine here has the sporty look. We also have contrasting mirror caps here in black, also black frames around the windows. It would usually come already with 19-inch wheels. However, these ones here are 18-inch together with winter tires. Summer tires would have the 19-inch then. Then we have the SportLine badge and also this black contrast in the lower side bumper right there. And I think a very beautiful design here, definitely for this limousine style. The dropping line you can see here, dividing in light and shadow just above the door handles. Suspension-wise, there's a base suspension available. Then you can get a sport suspension. In some market that might be standard for the SportLine. It is 15 millimeters lower. Or optional the DCC, dynamic chassis control, that's the adaptive suspension. That would be standard for the SportLine in the German market, for example. That is 10 millimeters lower, but again then ruling adaptively, so it will always be more comfortable, even here in the SportLine version, than the base version. And you can also go for the Scout version, that puts it 15 millimeters higher, but you can also get the DCC for that. Again, this is in the other review. What do you think about the Sedan style and also the SportLine design? This beautiful blue color, by the way, today is called Race Blue at Skoda, and we call it Thomas Blue on Autogefühl. So the Superb facelift here in the rear, new tail design, also with this crystalline structures, very beautifully done. Then we have a Skoda lettering here now at the back. This is also new with the facelift. And the Sportline adds this black spoiler right here, black design right there, so again a little bit sportier. Oh, now fake exhaust design alerts. Yeah, I mean, maybe not real fake exhaust, but at least the design. Is it necessary? I think not. The real exhaust is underneath. And the only thing you can see here, it's the plug-in hybrid version, is this IV badge there on the right. Yay, we got hydraulic struts, engine parts. So you have turbo petrol engines, 1.5 TSI with 150 horsepower, 2-liter TSI with 190 or 272 horsepower, and a 2-liter TDI with 150 or 190 horsepower. And this one is the new plug-in hybrid, 1.4 TSI, mated with the electric motor. Here the electric components here in orange. Overall 218 horsepower system power, 13 kilowatt hour battery, around a little bit less than 50 kilometers of electric range effectively in real life, and a little bit less than 30 miles, that is. And 7.7 is the acceleration figure, 7.7 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So that's comparable to a 190 horsepower diesel or 190 horsepower petrol engine. Now the interior here with the Sportline Alcantara insert at the inside of the doors. And you also have this carbon fiber style as insert of these Skoda features. You have a small trash bin here, that's interesting. You also have the optional sound system in this vehicle, Superb entry badge. Then the Sportline steering wheel with perforated sides or all the way, almost all the way around, just the top part not, and a flat bottom. Here again the carbon fiber style inserts. Then the seats, Sportline seats, pretty amazing. They're actually a little bit wider, especially for tall people. They are very suitable. And then they have this quilted structure here with the Alcantara on the inside and leatherette on the outside, so also animal friendly. Good choice. There are also different fabric styles available. They also are looking pretty premium already, so you don't have to go for the Sportline seats if you don't want to. You also have some, let's say, less expensive choices, but the Sportline seats are definitely one of the highlights. Well, not exactly Rolls-Royce style, but maybe a little taste of that here with the umbrella at the inside of the door. Now getting inside, easy, and I mean, a lot of room here. You feel like you are in a big vehicle. It's actually also not a small vehicle, but you have abundance of space, and especially these Sportline seats here are suitable for taller people. They're more voluminous, they offer more support, yet again more space on the seat itself. They're pretty cool, but as I said, all of the base seats are also pretty decent already. Then you can put also the lower area a little bit longer. That's even good for longer legs. Manual steering control here, in and out, up and down, good and easy system. And we do not have a panoramic roof here. There's one available, but here at the moment, when I put the seat all the way down with one with A6 or 6 with 1, still plenty of headroom. It still also works when you have the panoramic roof. You can still be tall. And here in the Sportline, we also have this Alcantara inside ceiling. Also very nice feature. Interior overview, soft touch here at the top of the dashboard. And again, this carbon fiber style. The glove box actually quite spacious and can also be cooled. Then you either have an 8-inch screen now with the facelift, or this option 9.2-inch screen. Soon more details to that. And on the left side, you still have the possibility for analog gauges with a Superb facelift, and then optional these 10.25-inch digital instruments. And they also have some special features here with the IV. Soon more to that. The steering wheel here, good compact size, left side volume control, right side to control something at the inside of the screen right there. We still have a manual climate unit. I think that's pretty cool, easy to control it while driving, also with seat heating and so on. There's also steering wheel heating available. You press the seat heating button, then activate it here in the screen, and then, for example, you can also turn off the seat heating and just have the steering wheel heating. Yeah, maybe one more button for the steering wheel heating wouldn't be too bad, or with like BMW or Porsche solving it. BMW has it here as a separate button, Porsche has it here at the back of the steering wheel. That's also a nice idea. Then DSG shifting lever, automatic gearbox, here and of course needed for the electric motor to combine it. Then in the lower part, you either have close or open it with a USB-C port now on the facelift, and an inductive charging platform for your smartphone. Makes somehow sense because the Apple CarPlay is also available in a wireless way. Then we have driving mode selectors here. We talk about these, plenty of them, while driving. Then cup holders, not adaptive, but some different sizes. You can also close it. And then this huge middle or armrest console, very well attached with the red cover, and when you open it, it can also be cooled actually, and a lot of space underneath. And then there's another USB-A charger. So here we go with the digital instruments. Left side in this IV plug-in hybrid, the battery status, so to say an analog gauge, and on the right side then you have the fuel status, which is full at the moment. In the middle then 10.25-inch screen. You can vary the view a little bit. This is more a classic view. You can also change like this, full assistant system view, small speed like this, or like this, a full digital design, or a sporty look then when you have the RPMs focused. This will also be possible. You can also put the GPS on the inside. This would be a good use of a digital instrument, either like this or full all the way. That's of course pretty fancy then. And with the plug-in hybrid here, this gauge of course makes most sense, because then you see here on the top when these are going to 20, 40, these are for the RPMs, for 2000, 4000 RPM zone, this would be the combustion engine. However, if it's on 0, then just the electric drive, and then you can see here how much of the electric drive is being used, power boost, or if you're then in the regions of recuperation, charging again when you're off the throttle, or whether when you're on the brakes or in this recuperation mode. Zoom more to that while driving. So now more details to the screen. You can see here where the battery has been placed. This is then the motor in the front. Everything goes via the front wheels. And then you can see how much you have driven EV, for example. The different EV driving modes, they look like this. Show the battery status right here. You can drive in the E mode, or also in the hybrid mode where the car more sets for itself, or you can also store the battery charge. Not efficient, but it's possible. And again, more to that while driving. And this would be the DCC control, where you set suspension and driving mode and shifting characteristics and so on. Pretty interesting. So there's the home menu like this. You have this app view. You also have a gesture function like swiping here, always when this hand appears, but I'm not sure. Sometimes it works in the cars, sometimes not so well, and yeah, I don't really see the sense of that. The inbuilt GPS here is actually quite cool. Has a good overview and is also responsive enough, so you can very well use that as well. You can also program yourself a home menu that you, for example, have the GPS as home menu, then the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto link, and then something else here. Other than that, there's also the e-manager here in the IV. You can time your charging. Not sure if that's really that useful. Is anyone using it? Would be interesting. You can also use a preconditioning for your air conditioning then. Best of course when the car is still plugged in. That could be a nice thing. So you have an independent heating, so to say, built in the vehicle already. Then SmartLink is of course very relevant, because here we have the Apple CarPlay, and it also works in a wireless way. You can also use it with a cable, that's possible, but here, just to show you that it also works, oh, there's Schmoozy, also works wirelessly. I mean, it's interesting to have it then when you can just put your phone in the inductive charging platform underneath, but the wireless Apple CarPlay is always something. I don't really like it that much yet. For example, now took another approach to load it. But then, no matter what it is, you know, here we are. And the music is actually quite nice in general, what we hear from this optional surround system. But one thing I want to show you right here, I have heard better sounds, definitely. And then we go to the sound settings, and there is, first of all, you can pick these. They don't change that much. But then when you go to position, first of all, sound focus is more, you can pick it yourself, or more to the front. Surround is actually quite nice. I would leave it like this. But here, this Dolby Pro Logic 2, it does give you a surround sound, but it's such a strange surround sound. I never had such a strange surround sound in the car. So usually I always set all surround settings and all the way in. But in this case, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not sure what's the reason for that. But in this case, probably I would prefer it just with the base surround level. And last but not least, here is the rear view camera. So resolution is actually quite decent. Not the best one, however. I think they could have updated this camera resolution, but you get along very well still. And you can also switch the views around just a little bit here. Very zoomed view, so to say. There we go. Now to the rear, which is probably one of the most, well, one of the coolest things here of the vehicle. Here you have these manual sunshades, if you like, soft touch at the inside of the doors, also the Alcantara at the inside of the door. And this is the seat as I would be driving, and I mean, just wow, wow, wow. So hardly any other vehicle where I have so much legroom. And this is, again, this seat is, to my driving position, this is where this car is leading almost all other cars I know. And if you take the length of this vehicle, there's no other car that can beat that actually. So that's really superb in this case. Although we have this sedan or fastback here today, there's still some headroom left here, even rear, and I can also lean myself back when I put the head restraint up. So when I'm going all the way back, like all the way back, and really put my head through the head restraint, then I do hit the ceiling. If I'm just now sitting normally, like if I don't put my spine all the way up, or if I'm leaning back intentionally, just in normal seating position, it still works. Just when I put my head back, and that is where the Combi, the Estate, would still have a slight advantage here come to that. But I think you can very well live with this compromise. Then also again, as I said, the beautiful Alcantara with the quilted structure here at the inside, also for the rear seats. You can already flip the seats from here, but you can also do it from the trunk. Isofix at the outside parts. Then right here you can also just use a ski hatch for the middle opening, or then cup holders right here. Not adaptive though. And the middle lower part, this is also very interesting. You have a separate climate unit. You also have rear seat heating if you like that option. And one of the coolest things is also you have a real power plug here, for example recharging your laptop or something, and two USB-C devices here now with the facelift. Fun fact, there's also a rear shade. It's manual. We hardly ever see it manual, so maybe leave it like this in summer times all the time and just open it in winter times all the time. You can see, you can still see through. 625 to 1760 liters would be the normal figure, and then you have to deduct about 150 liters here for the PHEV version, but I think that's okay. See here, below there, just threw the cable in there after charging. So, but there's enough space to store your cables. That's actually good. So 2 cables here for normal household plug and for the charging station. So that, you know, you don't lose too much. That's really okay. Still high enough. And I mean, look at that. That's what I meant here by the fastback opening of this car. You do have a saloon styling on the exterior, but on the inside, you almost have a Combi, almost have still an Estate. Just the height right here is what you would lose in comparison to the Combi. Then, what about some luggage inside? Easily done, but also in this way, this easily fits above that, and some measurements as well. So here the height to this cover would be about 40 centimeters. That could of course be a little bit higher than overall, but still quite okay. And the length here, this is not changed then with the PHEV, 1 meters and 17 it was. So, and then we can already flip the seats from here. That's also pretty rare with a saloon type car, I would say. And then to the front seats, yes, I would be driving. This is about 2 meters. That's of course pretty cool. By the way, you can also have this torch, have it here in the side, and then you can also remove it. It's one of these so-called simply clever features, they call it in the marketing slogan. But, you know, they're indeed quite clever, these features, I have to admit that. Hey, pure electric acceleration out of the corner from the traffic light. Really nice. That's fun. I didn't even hammer it all the way through. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Skoda Superb IV, the plug-in hybrid version, and also in the SportLine, as I showed you earlier, this is sporty trim. So, I'm going to give you an insight here now on the driving part on the plug-in hybrid behavior, and of course in general about the Superb facelift, what has changed, what is in general about this vehicle, and also what's special about the SportLine. So let me start with the plug-in hybrid, because that's also one of the new things and also probably the most special thing about this very trim of the vehicle. So there's this E-mode button, and then I can either pick the E-mode, and I can drive all electric. Of course, at some point, you know, when you drive really high autobahn speeds, it will automatically then switch. However, you know, at normal city speeds and also countryside road speeds, you stay in the electric mode. We're front-wheel drive only here with this 1.4 TSI plus electric motor thing. So everything is done with the front axle. And I mean, the electric motor has so much power. There's even, you know, sometimes the sign in the instruments that there's a little bit of wheel spin in the front, because like it's really so powerful. And that's, I think, you know, a pretty fun thing. Of course, nothing where, no. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Well, the good thing is you can pick the driving modes, how you really want to have it. And you can either drive in this all E mode, so then the car is predominantly driving electric as far as it goes. Of course, at really high autobahn speed, it switches on the combustion engine. If you pin the throttle all the way to the end, it will also activate the combustion engine, but you can pretty much floor it out. Just like the very last bit, when you do that, then the combustion engine hops on. But it does allow, you know, a pretty good acceleration, also all electric. And that I think pretty cool. And when you switch it over to the hybrid mode, then the combustion engine is on more often and also switches on earlier. So you can really play around with these driving modes. So that's about the basic, you know, PHEV characteristic you can pick there. I'll also give you some examples. Another interesting or important thing is when you use the shifting pedals, that's indeed rather for, you know, the combustion engine. However, when you're driving all electric at the moment and then you switch down a gear, it will also increase the recuperation without the combustion engine getting on. So that would be a thing you can do when you're driving down a hill for a longer time, for example. Hold the right pedal to get into the normal automatic mode again. Other than that, what you would rather do is you can either drive in a D mode and then the car is rolling when you leave the throttle. So that's actually more efficient when you want to roll. However, if you want some, you know, reduction in speed and want to use more recuperation, and it can be sometimes a little bit strange because when the car is rolling all the time, it also doesn't feel like an electric vehicle, but it also doesn't feel like a combustion engine with engine brake. So you lift the throttle and then the car is just rolling. It's like, oh, well, stop. So I think it is a better approach, and probably they should have made it standard, to put the gear lever a step behind and then you're into this B mode. And this is like an engine brake mode for a normal combustion engine, but if you're in the electric mode, it also serves as stronger recuperation. So as soon as I go off the throttle now, even downhill, the car is decelerating and the charge meter also goes almost full. And I think that's probably a better way to drive. It's not really one pedal feeling like in an all-electric vehicle, so not a very, very harsh acceleration, but reasonable enough. And I think normally when you step off the throttle, in most situations, especially in city traffic, you want to reduce speed and then maybe go on the brakes. And the brakes first use the recuperation span, and then when there's more brake even needed, then the normal brakes are being applied. But the thing is, in the moment, you see something like pedestrian or so, and then you switch with your right foot from the throttle pedal to the brake pedal. In this moment, like this split, like half or 1 second or something, is good when the car is already decelerating and not like going still the full speed when it's just sailing. So I think it's also safer to drive in this B mode, in this recuperation mode, especially here in the plug-in hybrid version. For example, not sure if the car is continuing or not, then that I could decelerate a little bit before in advance, and I also feel that you're using a little bit more of the recuperation than overall that your electric range is also being presumed a little bit better. So indeed, the effective range, something less than 50 kilometers, something less than 30 miles, it would be in the realistic electric range if you are fully charged with your battery right here with the 13 kilowatt hour battery. And the fuel economy, when you have it depleted battery wise and you drive just with the petrol engine on motorway, higher speeds, then you can score some normal, not so good fuel economy numbers like 8 liters to 1 kilometers high speed motorway. So that would be rather 30 mpg US or 30 mpg plus UK. Or when you're using more city traffic, and again, battery depleted, but using some recuperation, that's where the car then also plays out the advantages. You can also score some 6 liters 1 kilometers. That would be rather than 40 mpg US and 40 mpg UK plus, also 40 plus mpg UK. So there you see, even if the battery is depleted, it somehow makes sense because you can use the recuperation effect, especially in city traffic. However, most sense, of course, it makes when you can charge this car at home for daily commuting all electric, when you have this driving profile and when you have your charging infrastructure at home. Now, again, when I'm in the all electric mode and I press the throttle through, like from 40 kilometers an hour, but not all the way, 80. So that's also quite nice already. I did not push it all the way through now. So when I'm still in the E mode and I'm really hitting it to the floor from 60 now, see here, 90. That was then, combustion engine gets on. So there is this threshold in the pedal. It's not that easy to feel, but indeed you can push down the acceleration pedal almost all the way through, almost all the way, and you're still in the electric mode. And just at the very, very last bit, then the combustion engine also is on. And they usually do that to say, yeah, that's, keeping you safe when you want to do some acceleration maneuver and so on. You can argue for that, but I somehow feel that it should stay in the electric mode, all electric all the time, and just when you're in the hybrid mode. That's how I feel. Then again, if you're at a higher speed and need some autobahn acceleration and floor it through, you might not care about which mode you're in. You just want to floor it through. And I really need this acceleration now. That's the thought behind that the combustion engine is always being active then when you floor it through, no matter what. So I think you can argue for and against it, definitely. Maybe you don't need this function when the electric motor has enough power even at higher speeds. That was also sometimes the case in plug-in hybrid vehicles we had. So probably then that is possible then when you have big battery and also a big electric motor. But nevertheless, pretty interesting. With this Skoda Superb facelift, by the way, what have they done? They updated the assistance systems, means the AEB, autonomous emergency brake, called front assist at the Volkswagen AG. It also now reacts to pedestrians, has received a general update. The ACC is now also predictive, so when you set the adaptive cruise control and you have it in your vehicle, then it also, first of all, reads traffic signs, and it also then, for example, saying, oh, in a couple of 100 meters, there is a new traffic sign coming up. I already reduced the speed right now to save some fuel, and that we're right at the speed when we reach the traffic sign. That's this predictive function, for example. At the moment, it's setting the adaptive cruise control, and it's also giving the distance to cars in front of us, if there would be one. It's a very helpful system, pretty good. There's also blind spot monitor available in this very car. We can show that to you very soon. The only thing that the Passat facelift received and that the Skoda Superb facelift did not receive is this. Here we can see the blind spot monitor, and when I now hit also the turning indicator, then it flashes as a second warning. So the only thing the Superb facelift did not receive is this capacitive steering wheel. That means there can be some false positives still, or is it false positives or is it false negatives? Very good. Well, what I mean is, when the motorway is all the way straight, you know, adaptive cruise control, keeping the distance to the car in front of us. I can also increase the speed here at the separate column at the steering wheel. Next again, once more blind spot monitor. So back to the steering. So I have to keep my hand on the steering wheel, but it's detected by motion. That's the old system, still in here, in the Passat facelift. Capacitive, that means it detects that you have your hands on the steering wheel somehow, and that's actually important when there's a motorway that is just straight. At some point the car would think, come on Thomas, you have your hands off the steering wheel, you're just not moving it. And when you have it capacitive, then the car realized, oh, Thomas still has his hands at the steering wheel, although he is not steering. That's the difference. Sadly, Superb facelift did not receive it yet, but the Skoda also told me that it would be something that might be introduced with another model year and so on. So we definitely looking forward to that. So here again, by the way, when you are on the brakes, the throttle is being reduced. No matter in which mode you are, at the moment we were still in this E mode, engine is being shut off. Already then in rolling, you save some fuel, just in electric mode. Then again, the recuperation, battery recharges again. So it somehow, makes sense, and it's also fun to drive the hybrid. First of all, of course, these electric moments, but also, it has some decent acceleration as well, especially if you combine these engines. However, the 1.4 TSI, you maybe also heard when you really hammer it, it sounds, a little bit stressed, so to say. That's normal because it has this, little displacement. They also did not majorly upgrade the drivetrain here for this car, and also not for the other hybrid vehicles. So they left it with the 1.4 TSI, and maybe we were thinking maybe they could update it to the 1.5 TSI, for example. But no, they didn't. Probably didn't want to spend more money on that, and it maybe didn't also make too much of a difference. And again, high fuel consumption when you have the battery depleted, and you're just running, higher speeds. But PHEV system still making sense, as I said earlier, when you are also driving in the city and the battery is depleted. So that's about it. SportLine, by the way, if you have the fixed sport suspension in your market, that would be a rougher ride overall. Here in the German market, it's standard, or then in other markets maybe an option. The DCC, dynamic chassis control, that's the depth suspension, that is giving us such a smooth ride. And you maybe also realize when we're standing still here now, cars outside, it's very silent here in this vehicle. There's a good noise insulation, have a good quality feeling. And then when you have the electric drive, driving all silent, this really fits also to this vehicle, which rather gives you a sovereign driving feeling, a very calm driving feeling. And when we're at the higher speeds, then you can realize that also on the motorway, even at higher speeds, pretty good noise insulation wise. And I can also show you when we're in hybrid mode, then the combined drive is a little bit better, even better acceleration. I'll now accelerate from 50 kilometers. Let's go. Plop, that's 100 kilometers. And this acceleration, 7.7 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, with both combined, is comparable to the acceleration figure of a 190 horsepower petrol all diesel engine version here of this vehicle. So pretty powerful, and price-wise, 5,500 euros extra for the plug-in hybrid version in Germany. And in Germany, that would mean with the governmental benefits plus tax savings, it's not really much more expensive. you know. So depending on the electric vehicle and the price, or the plug-in hybrid, you get different benefits from the buying price already, and then later on also annual or monthly tax benefits. So if you have it as a company car and use a special like taxation for private use, then it will even be cheaper than the other models. And if you don't use that, it will at least end up somewhere, you know, equal. So really then depends on governmental benefits if it pays off money-wise, and of course, like how much do you pay for gas at, you know, in crisis situations you pay less, and how expensive the energy actually in your country. In Germany, for example, it's pretty expensive, you know, to get energy, to get power. But in other countries, it's maybe different. It depends on really. So now we're getting off the motorway here, by the way, 80 kilometers an hour, so like 50 miles an hour. Still very silent in here. Such a good ride with this long wheelbase. And the DCC, dynamic chassis control, very good. It definitely pays off in all Volkswagen AG vehicles. So Audi, you always say Audi, BMW, Mercedes for premium manufacturers. Therefore, when you start like counting up with Audi, you automatically say BMW. So what I meant is Audi, Volkswagen, Seat, Skoda. It really pays off to go for the DCC, dynamic chassis control here. It adds really more comfort and more sportiness at the same time, if you want so. So you can either go for the sport mode, that is here in the SportLine also, then it directly hops to the sport mode. So this makes the steering wheel a little bit crisper, changes the gearing and so on, like how the RPMs are turned up. And also the suspension gets a little bit stiffer. You can also go to the overall drive mode selector, then you're not directly jumping to sport, but can pick from comfort, eco, normal, and so on. And this is also, you know, something where you can say, maybe there's a road you want to have a little bit more fun, then you put suspension here to the sport mode. And I mean, it's a little bit stiffer then. You can also individualize it. For example, if you just want the steering to be a little bit crisper, a little bit more resistant, but want the suspension to be soft, that will also be possible. Let's see if I can turn right here. Yeah, that's me in. So a little bit more fun, a little bit more control than here in the in a sport mode with suspension, but it's not becoming super uncomfortable or something that you would say like, oh, this is super rough now, because the adaptive suspension always stays adaptive. It's just you have some kind of a electronic preset then when you're in sport mode or in the normal mode. Like, you know, you can imagine it, you're just pushing it to the one or to the other side, and then it still reacts in this area to both sides in an adaptive way, and that's why it still feels good, although we are in the sport mode now. Usually when you're just cruising, you would leave it on the comfort mode and enjoy silence and the comfort here with this vehicle. That's probably the thing the Superb is also most famous for, and indeed it does give you even more comfort than the Octavia. I also feel that it is even more silent than the Octavia. The Octavia is definitely also a very good car. The owner generation will also be in the full review at Autogefühl, of course, at some point. But this is Superb. If you need more space, especially in the rear, that would be the main argument. But you know, it feels a little bit more elaborate, a little bit more refined. Then it's also a segment higher. Although I feel that the difference between the Golf and the Passat would be a little bit larger than the Octavia to the Superb. I think maybe just like a subjective thing. So we didn't spend too much electric range indeed. So you see when it says here we start at about 30 kilometers and now we're about 25. We had some recuperation in between, but also some acceleration moments. So that really works out well. So overall I'm pretty happy with the electric range here. Again, it's not an all-electric vehicle. It's not the biggest battery, but to have this hybrid drive is actually still quite cool. When you are in the normal hybrid drive, here at the moment, for example, combustion engine is being activated. The car always picks that on its own, and when I leave the throttle, engine shuts off and so on. But most of the time I would probably then go still with the E mode and use the electric driving. At the moment there are no zero emission zones officially, at least not here in Germany. So I don't need to save the electric range for later or something, and even if I have depleted it, there will still be some electric moments when I leave the throttle. There's recuperation happening. I maybe ease the car in and out of the driving lot or parking lot or something. What is interesting, however, if you think about future zero emission zones, what you can always do is when you go to the hybrid mode and then deactivate this auto check, and then says maintain state of charge. So you can then increase that or leave it at the same level or put it a little bit lower, and then the car keeps the charge as it is at the moment. That's not an efficient thing to do because the battery is basically charged by the combustion engine, but this could be useful then if you live in an area, or maybe in future it will happen that you can only enter a certain city point when you're driving with no local emissions. So it's good that it's actually prepared for that. So I'll go back to the E mode, and I'm also keeping it in the B mode. So this brake mode, so to say. So I can drive it a little bit like an electric vehicle, and it's not rolling all the time. I can again show you the difference, by the way. So when I'm in normal D mode, and here now 30 kilometers an hour, there's speed reduction here. So here the car's just rolling. B mode, see here, immediate little bit of reduction in speed, although we're driving downhill. And in this case it wouldn't be such a problem, but just imagine like the next intersection or so, and then you're here, for example, at 50 kilometers an hour, and you're in a normal driving mode, leaving the throttle, and the car is just rolling, which is quite good, efficiency wise. That's decent, hardly reduces the speed. It could be wanted in situations like these. I don't need to reduce the speed at the moment. Rolling. That's good, okay. But I could also do that when I'm in the B mode and just stay a little bit on the throttle, then I'm also rolling without using much energy, because the car adapts to that. But then again, in most situations when you leave the throttle, you don't want to roll that long. Then I think it's more practical to have some more of recuperation. What would be your preference in the plug-in hybrid vehicle or in the electric vehicle? More harsh recuperation or a little bit less? It's a matter of philosophy, and some prefer that, some prefer the other thing. So I would also be interested in your opinion, what you think about that. Really cool to hear that. So plug-in hybrid, really interesting and nice. Small, let's say it's small but nice electric range. It's always more interesting, so to say, to have it. It's still performing, yes, even though the engine doesn't sound that good, but the performance is there when you really need it. Overall facelift, more about the assistance system changes while driving, other facelift changes we talked about, exterior and interior, of course here the infotainment and the lights on the exterior, that would be one of the most notable changes. The SportLine, more of course about the looks. If you have the DCC, the dynamic chassis control, adaptive suspension, it doesn't matter that much in driving which version you really pick. We have driven the Scout version, the put up high up. Yeah, I mean, you feel some kind of difference. We also had the DCC mounted with that together, but it's not that you would say like, oh, this is a completely different vehicle, So DCC is then, in this case here, 10 millimeters lower from the standard niveau, and still reacting good in every driving mode you put in. But definitely go for the DCC when you go for the Superb. And it's a very silent ride, very refined ride, so I really love to drive a Superb. It's, although quite expensive here in this very version, like SportLine plus plug-in hybrid, you kind of get to 50k euros then in the list price. But since you do have the tax benefits, at least in Germany and some other countries, it can definitely pay off to go for the plug-in hybrid version. And this is also like top trim level. And space-wise and quality-wise and driving refinement-wise, you can really compare this vehicle to other way more expensive premium vehicles. So I wouldn't necessarily, it's not a cheap vehicle, not in this version, no, but comparing to other vehicles in this segment, which are offering that thing we have in like this type of luxury, it's still a quite good price-performance ratio. That's also one of the most important things. And of course, just the abundance of rear space you have here in the rear. That's always something about the Superb. So different interesting driving aspects here today. Want to hear your feedback now. And now to our conclusion for today with the Skoda Superb facelift, today as sedan, plug-in hybrid version, IV, and also here in the SportLine. First of all, of course, striking color, Thomas blue, called race blue. Exterior-wise, I think the facelift is really more elegant, looks a little bit sportier with these headlamps that are now more integrated together with the front grille. I think pretty cool. And of course the SportLine, also my favorite. It just looks a little bit sportier. And the sedan, look-wise, I also prefer it definitely. It's also a great compromise with this fast big opening. You can drive a sedan style, but still have a very versatile trunk. Of course, the Combi will even offer you a little bit more versatility. The interior, so much space in this Superb. It's really a superb vehicle in this respect, because hardly any other vehicle has so much legroom there. The interior build quality is also really top-notch. Infotainment upgrades with the facelift, of course. You can get a little bit more infotainment than before, bigger screens, more functionality, and so on. Then driving-wise, with the facelift, updated assistance systems, that's actually pretty important. And the new plug-in hybrid version is a very interesting drive. Of course, the higher range throughout all these sister models that have been recently introduced, also with the Passat facelift, for example, the plug-in hybrid there, and also the Golf GTE, the Seat Leon and Audi A3, they all get the same hybrid system. And it's actually very well to use. It might pay off for you, especially if you have governmental benefits, and of course if you have this commuting structure where you drive all electric during the week, for example, and longer trips on the weekend or so, then it can really make sense for you. It is always fun to drive all electric, have these electric moments at least, even when the battery is depleted. And again, it really depends also if you have the charging infrastructure, if it makes sense for you. The way it stands here, very fully packed car, and already pretty expensive. But then again, not that expensive if you compare it to other high-class premium competitors, because what we see here, what we experience, what this car can give to you, you can actually already compare to some of the big Audi, BMW and Mercedes vehicles. And then it gets really interesting from the price performance, even if you're still in a high trim. Of course, a better overall price performance would be when you pick like a mid-trim Superb, so to say, with a 1.5 TSI or something. That would be the best price performance deal at the moment. But here, different aspects with the other trim levels we've shown to you here today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please leave us your comments. Also tune into other episodes we linked in the video description or in the pinned comment. See you there. And for example, also with the Superb facelift in the Combi Scout version, there's also an interesting review. See you there or at some of our new reviews. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please keep supporting us, and we'll always keep you entertained and also informed, of course, here on Autogefühl on our channel with our whole team. I hope you really appreciate that. So we keep on our work as long as we can do, just as the best service for you. Thank you so much. See you next time.